Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then you know who didn't want to bring the case most of all? Is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it. But then he brought it, and they tried to make it a different case. They didn't say legal expense equal legal expense. Again, if I wrote down and paid a lawyer, and by the way, this was a highly qualified lawyer. Now, I'm not allowed to use his name because of the gag order. But, you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that. Took me a while to find out. But he was effective. He did work. But he wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. You know, they like to use the word fixer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. At the time, he was a fully accredited lawyer. Now, he got into trouble not because of me. He got into trouble because he made outside deals, and he had something to do with taxi cabs and medallions, and he borrowed money. And that's why he went. And then he pled to three election violations. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I wonder why he did that. He pled. He took a deal.
I'm giving the committee today a copy of the $130,000 wire transfer from me to Ms. Clifford's attorney during the closing days of the presidential campaign that was demanded by Ms. Clifford to maintain her silence about her affair with Mr. Trump. And this is Exhibit 4 to my testimony. Mr. Trump directed me to use my own personal funds from a home equity line of credit to avoid any money being traced back to him that could negatively impact his campaign. And I did that too, without bothering to consider whether that was improper, much less whether it was the right thing to do or how would it impact me, my family, or the public. And I am going to jail in part because of my decision to help Mr. Trump hide that payment from the American people before they voted a few days later. As Exhibit 5A to my testimony shows, I am providing a copy of a $35,000 check that President Trump personally signed from his personal bank account on August 1st of 2017. When he was president of the United States, pursuant to the cover-up, which was the basis of my guilty plea, to reimburse me, the word used by Mr. Trump's TV lawyer for the illegal hush money I paid on his behalf.
We have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail.
While this defendant may be unlike any other in American history, we arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law and doing so without fear or favor.
So for years, Mr. Cohen has acted like he is above the law. He has considered himself and openly referred to himself as Mr. Trump's fixer. He is played by a different set of rules, or should we say no rules at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The reason why I think the judge delayed is because the judge really had to delay. And the reason he had to delay was not necessarily because of the election itself, but rather because of the timing of the events. So the way that the scheduling was set up, the judge was supposed to issue his decision with respect to the immunity, outstanding immunity issue only 2 days before the sentencing itself. And that really does not afford the parties time to respond to and take appropriate action with respect to that decision. In addition, after Trump asked for a delay, the prosecutor's office did not oppose that. And when the prosecutor's office doesn't oppose something, in essence, what it's saying is we agree with what the defendant's asking for. This case was the case that was pending in New York in front of a jury in Manhattan with respect to basically what we've always referred to as the hush money case, which with payments that were made that the prosecutor's office claimed were illegal campaign contributions that were made to silence a particular story coming out. And after trial, there was a guilty verdict, and now we have been waiting for the sentencing. We have to have a decision from the judge with respect to the outstanding immunity issue. If the judge agrees with Trump and says that the immunity decision applies and this case should be thrown out, for lack of a better word, then the case will not have a sentencing. If, however, the judge does not agree with Trump, then there will be a sentencing. I think most likely that the court will not disturb the jury's verdict, and that the court will say that even if there was any information that was presented that might fall under the Supreme Court's immunity umbrella protection, so to speak, that it's harmless error and that the jury's verdict should stand, which would mean that the sentencing will proceed.
Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then you know who didn't want to bring the case most of all? Is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it, but then he brought it.
This is a moment in history. We have never been in this position before. So what the sentencing will actually look like, what sentence might be imposed is really yet to be seen. And of course, all the logistics, if Trump is president, what would it look like for a president to be sentenced? How is it that we could keep track of someone who has Secret Service? There's all sorts of things that we've just never faced as a country before. So it is yet to be seen how this will unfold.
The American people before they voted a few days later. As Exhibit 5A to my testimony shows, signed from his personal bank account on August 1st of 2017.
With respect to the argument that the judge caved to political pressure, I actually think that it's quite the opposite. I think what the judge did here is said, I am going to give this defendant a fair shot. Either way, that no matter what, this court is going to continue to be impartial. And even if there's any inkling of impropriety, we're going to dispel that. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to delay both the decision with respect to how the immunity case would affect this court, and also the sentencing itself if the sentencing moves forward.